Hey there, everyone. I'm Hunter Myers, the host of the Brand Bite podcast and the founding creative director here at Verger Design Co. I am super duper excited to be welcoming Alyssa Hariprashad to the show today. So Alyssa is a physical therapist and the creator of the Pelvic Floor Playbook blog, as well as All Things Pelvic podcast. Alyssa, tell us, because I know you've been doing this for a while. Tell us your story.
Oh my gosh. I feel like when anybody also, hi, everybody. Like Hunter said, my name is Alyssa. I am a pelvic floor physical therapist and I am based in Manhattan. I started my own company a year and a half ago. And as Hunter and I just talked about before we started recording, not everything is always rainbows and butterflies, which is why I am here today to kind of just talk about my story a bit. I feel like I got to start like kind of from the beginning, just to get like get a little onto how I got started as a pelvic floor physical therapist. And it really does lead into why I wanted to start my own business in the first place. For those of you who don't know, but physical therapists, pretty much we're movement specialists. You know, we definitely go to school for a long time, but at the end of the day, we're there to get you functioning and better. There's so many different realms of physical therapy. There are physical therapists in hospitals, there are physical therapists in offices. I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist, so I tend to be in an office setting. At the end of the day, we always want to get people better. It's that very typical line of applying to med school or a doctorate program. I want to help people. That's what we want to do. But when I was in PT school, one of my professors asked me if I wanted to have a pelvic floor clinical. And for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. I still always want to learn everything. And I was like, of course, if professors are asking me if I want to do a certain clinical placement, they even said, they were like, I think you'd be good at it. We think you should do it. Great. How can you say no to something like that? For those of you who don't know, but pelvic floor therapy is a very special niche. It's our pelvic floor helps with peeing, pooping, sex, the works, and we do a lot of those things every day, right? So why wouldn't we want to help with that? But it is a very intimate setting. I do a lot of internal, vaginal, and rectal exams pretty much every single day to figure out what's going on with our pelvic floors. And that can be really scary for some of my patients. Like, what do you mean that's the type of exam that I'm going to get today? But that first day in that clinical for me, it really set in with me that it's such a niche specialty and nobody knows about it, which then led into my blog during COVID. So that's where the pelvic floor playbook came in, where I did get laid off from my full-time job. I was doing orthopedics as well as pelvic floor there. And I was like, okay, it's been a week since I was laid off. And I think everybody during COVID, definitely at a point of either boredom or ran out of your favorite TV show to watch. If you were still working, that's amazing. I was not at the time. And I was like, I have to do something. I am so passionate about the pelvic floor and the fact that nobody knows about it. So I started my blog, which then led into my podcast. And now I have my own company. So that's kind of how I started. I'm super passionate about what I do. I love teaching as well. So I'm definitely not an entrepreneur and physical therapist that's like, only I can know how I treat. Absolutely not. We all need to help each other. That's also what I get on my podcast about, is to teach about like different types of diagnoses that I treat. And, if somebody's looking to get and become a pelvic floor physical therapist, I'm all about helping in that way too.
I absolutely love it. So tell us a little bit. So I know that you said you got laid off, which that was actually my story as well. I was furloughed.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, here we are. So time
Yeah.
to build something new. So I'd love to hear, and I'm sure other people would too, like what that transition was like for you, like going from full-time to then doing the blog to then being like, you know what, no, I'm going to start my own practice. Like, what was that like?
Oh my gosh. I can easily tell you from 2020 to parts of 2022 was a weird hell period for me. And that might sound like really dramatic. It was like hell and heaven at the same time. It was the weirdest transition. And I think that that's how a lot of business owners would explain their transition into owning something too, whether they would like to admit it or not. Like everybody sees the rainbows and butterflies part. And pretty much when I started the blog, I had so many people reach out to me. So this is right when I got laid off, is when I started the blog. And I had a lot of people reach out to me from like high school, middle school, college, people that I hadn't really spoken to in a while. And no bad blood. It was just like life was life, and we, things separate. But all these people were like, hold on a second, tell me what you do. And I think like that's the beauty of social media for me too, is that like I don't see these people on my day to day. So the fact that they were even reaching out was such a beautiful connection again. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, like this is what I do. Like tell your friends, like you might have somebody that's dealing with this issue too. So that's what happened with that. So that was like one of the highs where I was like, oh my gosh, like people are reaching out. This is great. I'm able to give a pull. And then I was like, oh, unemployment's ending. Like payments are starting to go down. Like I have to like get a real job now. So before I started my own company, I did work at another full-time job actually. And I'm still to this day so grateful for that job. I loved it. I honestly would still probably be there if my head didn't become business owner-esque, like if I didn't start thinking about that. I'm still to this day so grateful for it. But even there, I was like, oh, I want to get more of a reach out to anybody that needs this type of therapy. So again, we're kind of on that high part of like, I can change the pelvic floor world. I can, do everything I can in order to do that. And then one of my best friends who I did work for part-time, she was like, you can do this. She was like, I have my own company. I started off small. You can do this. Let's have dinner. Let me take you through what I do. So I have 3 beautiful friends in the city that really, really helped me start my company. And I said to them, I said, guys, like I'm a single woman in the city. Like I hate to like put myself in that category. I am such like an independent feminist and like, every time I date someone, they love like how independent I am. But I said, I was like, you all have husbands and they do have husbands that do kind of cater to their businesses as well. And they're able to work with it. And I was like, guys, this is the first time being single where like, I'm nervous to start my own company. Like I'm actually nervous because I hear everybody saying like, oh, well, like if I don't do well this month, like at least like there's another form of income coming in. And like, what the hell? Like somebody shouldn't be thinking that, but that was a very real thought for me. So that's when some of the lows started to happen where I was like, wait a second. With the 3 people that I'm talking to, I'm in a very different scenario. But then I hit this weird point of just, I've got this. Like, I've got this. I'm going to start off slow. So that was my biggest thing. I was still at my job. And then I just started renting space one day a week, just one day a week to say, I can do this. I can start to treat patients on my own. And then that one day became 2, that 2 days became 3. In April of 2023, I am officially off on my own. So it's like, it was this slow, steady thing. But even then, February of this year, like a lot of my insurance payments were behind and I had to rely on, just a few payments kind of coming in a week. And those are some of the nitty gritty things that while somebody says it to you, you don't know what it feels like until you're actually sitting in it. So I would definitely say that transition period of like having that secure full-time job going into your own thing, it's this weird, beautiful, I can do this. Like I can do it. I have patients coming in. I'm making more money than, I ever was before. And I'm able to like run my treatments how I want to. This is amazing. But, oh crap, my insurance payments are behind. And those are the real life things that kind of come in where you're like, wait. My patients love me. That's the beautiful part. My patients are great and they're being helped and all this stuff, but I still have a living that I need to take care of. So it's this weird back and forth that I think I still have where it's like, you want to help everybody, but you also still have a livelihood that you kind of need to take care of too. So it's this very kind of like a ping pong match, right? It's like it's this ping pong match, but I think what I can easily say is that even with the ping pong match, my pros really outweigh the cons. And there's some very realistic cons that I think are really important to address, but that's what I would say my transition period was. Long story long, a ping pong match of
I
highs and
love
lows.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, something that I think is really nice that you shared and experienced was that it was a slower transition. And I
Yes.
think there are a number
Yes.
of different ways that you could go into this, right? And oh my gosh, I can't remember where I heard this phrase from, but essentially someone had told me once that so your business is like a baby bird, right? And
Yes.
you can't expect your baby bird to fly very quickly if you're sitting on it. And I think that was like a really eye-opening moment for me, because I jumped in. I was really fortunate in that like I do run an online business, and so like there's not a lot of overhead, right? So I don't have to worry about rent or things like that for like a separate space. But I know a lot of people who like are like, well, I want to just leave the full-time job altogether, but I have no way to fund this. And I feel like that slow transition is such a great way to bridge that gap when you do have overhead that you have to cover, or you don't have, like you had said, like your friends all had essentially kind of like financial backers, like at home at least.
Right. And yes. And, just so everybody knows too, I'm well aware that not everybody that's married, like has that. It's just like these friends, did have that. And it was like said out loud, and it definitely wasn't assumed. These were like high level conversations that we had. But yeah.
Right. So I just think it's so great that you still found a way to make it work for you. And I think that's something that people listening, like definitely take note of. Like there are multiple ways that you can go about this. And I think that yours was a really, really smart way given your circumstances to kind of prepare yourself for whenever you went full
Totally.
time.
Definitely. And anybody that asks me now, of like, oh my gosh, Alyssa, you seem like you're doing great, with the business, and like you're so passionate about what you do, which like I'm sure even everybody listening, right? Like you could tell, like pelvic floors are my world. It definitely is. However, what does everybody mostly see on social media? The good stuff, right? Like we're really seeing, like, yeah, you are seeing me on the trip or like celebrating the friend's wedding or doing all of these things. And nobody besides my close friends and my family knew about a lot of the back end stuff of the nights where I was up until like 2 or 3 a.m. because I was like, oh, I'm in this groove of finishing my website. Like let me just like finish it. Let me just get this together because now I'm so motivated to do that. But that motivation takes up energy and time. So that slow transition, I tell anybody that is looking at my social media and seeing that all the good, I tell all my friends now, you guys are totally only seeing the good. But when you're ready to have that coffee or that dinner, like I will take you through, all the things that I went through to set this up. But like I said, I started off with one day, led into two, led into three. It was this beautiful, slow transition. I have a lot of friends who are doing beautifully, but they quit that full time job and the next day they were on their own. For me, I can't even imagine. I respect the hell out of anybody that does that. I really, really do. But that slow transition for me was definitely one of my saving graces. However, even then, now getting into some of the nitty gritty stuff for sure, I thought that I had enough money saved, for rent, for overhead, for all of the things. And I definitely had to, I had to ask my parents at one point, like, guys, like, I thought I had this and I don't. And I talked about getting a business loan and they were like, no, no, no. Like, let us at least help you with this. Like, there will be no interest on it. And like, luckily, I've been able to just like slowly pay them back. But it's like, what if I didn't have that? Right. So, like, that's even another piece of advice that I would give to somebody. Like, make sure, you definitely all the things that we hear of like having 3 times your rent, 4 times your rent, of 4 times your overhead costs, the works. Like, that's real shit, guys. Like that's real stuff. And as much as you look at the glitz and glam of like, I can take whatever time I want off. Well, what income is coming in during that time off? Is that, like, is that happening or not? And like, those are some of the things where it's like, yes, there is a beauty of, I was able to block off my schedule to do a podcast with Hunter today, right? Like I was able to do that. But, if I was in a different spot, let's say I was just starting, maybe I would have like overworked the rest of the week, So I think like those are some of the things where it looks like this glitz and glam sometimes, but that slow transition, I think hands down saved me. I honestly don't know what I would have done if I probably would have had to just go back to working for my previous employer. That's the beauty of being in the field that I'm in too. Like there are jobs out there. So it's not like I'm like starting this whole new niche or anything. So there's that part of it. But like you said, that slow transition saved me for sure.
Yeah. Well, I also really like that you've brought up this kind of trade, right? Like there's a trade-off,
Yeah.
and the trade-off is not something that is oftentimes talked about, unless you're like having a one-on-one conversation with someone, but like the time
Yeah.
trade-off or the money trade-off, like all of these things, this glitz and glam that you see does come with a cost. And I think
Yes.
something for me, I know that I get really, really frustrated seeing, just the glitz and glam online and no one actually talking about what it really took to get there. Like what sacrifices did you have to make? Or also how much is this glitz and glam life actually costing you? Like how much are you
Uh-huh.
investing to make those 10K months? Like what is your actual, profit margin
Yes.
there? Because it's not as open as we would like to think it is, right? Like we all want to show up as our quote best selves, or what we think our best self is supposed to look like. And so I love that you're here having this conversation and are just like, listen up, folks. Like this was
Yeah.
the trenches.
Yes. No, 1000%. And, I think like now I'm so open about talking about it as well, where I did hit a period, I would say, when I really first started, of like seeing this like income come in. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Like I can make my sessions longer so that my patients are enjoying this, all this stuff. And then I hit this point of like, hold on a second. Now I actually do have to think about what is my actual income a month? Because like now am I actually able to have enough for taxes? Am I able to have I don't know if anybody's from New York, but these taxes are definitely not cute. That's for sure. Like, these are some real things. Like my location matters. And it really set in with me like, oh crap, you're in it now though, and I was blessed enough to be in it, having patients wanting to see me. So it's like, I luckily had that part. And I know for some people, that's the hard part is like getting some patient, getting patients even through the door. Mine was wait. I have it now, but how am I going to make this now work long term? And it's, again, you can block off time. There is this trade off. There is a cost to it. There is yes, while I didn't like working for somebody full time. So, there's this beauty of making my own schedule and having all these things. But when I took a day off at my previous job, I got paid for that day. Now that's not the case. And now I have people to pay as well along with that. So these are some of the things that not everybody, it's not the first thing in somebody's head. And like you even said, right? Like a beautiful thing for you is like you don't have overhead, but how many clients do you have a month? And I try not to look at my months in that way of like, well, how many patients did I see? Like what did I do with this? I really try my best not to. But again, luckily in a spot now where it's kind of like I'm making enough to be comfortable with myself that I don't have to do this crazy thing. But it's a very real thing, as much as anybody wants to admit that part too. Like a lot of us start our own companies for patients in order to help patients. We do it so that we can treat in the way we want to, but you're lying if you say that you're like not, counting certain things because you like have to for a business. You have to. And that just is what it is too. So there's that part of it as well, where like you do have to look into some of the nitty-gritty things of like, how much do I need this month? Am I going to make that this month? And if not, then what do I need to do next month? What do I need to cut out? Like, I need to not get my nails done. I need to not eat out 3 times this week. I need to not, those are, and as much as everybody does do that, like we all budget, but there's this different level of budgeting when you have your own business too. So you can't just look at it as your income as just your income, because if you do have people to pay, if you have overhead, if you have all these things, that's not true income anymore. That's literally just you being stable. That's it. Like to just like make it through the month. So yeah.
Right. Well, again, like I love this point because I think it's something that, especially when you're just starting out, like it's so exciting to see the numbers come in, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm rolling in it. This is awesome.
Yes.
And then you're like, wait a second. I now owe what? And even just taxes, right? Like you're taxed more as a business owner than you are as an employee, and all these additional elements that aren't talked about and some people aren't prepared for. Even like, again, I was really fortunate. I was a 1099 worker prior to starting my own business. So I already knew kind of the tax side of things, which made me feel more confident. But I know a number of friends who had considered starting a business and were like, look at how much I'm making. I'm like, hey, you got that tax account open, right? They're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, make sure you have that open. You don't want Uncle Sam coming and knocking on your door later.
Totally. We all know about that tax account. At least if you're a business owner, you should know about that stupid tax account that like grows beautifully and then it plummets beautifully.
And then it's gone.
Right. Right. No, and you're right. And like the beautiful thing of like you knowing that is like you can then tell your friends that, right? You know, like there are these little hacks. Like I even said to one of my friends, it's now part of my week. Fridays, Fridays come and it's a little bit more of an admin day for me. And like, I literally tell myself, great, what's in the budget for the rest of the month? Like what can I do? What can't I do? How much did I have to put in taxes this week? Because this is how much I made. Those are real things that like, so the admin part of things, I think is another thing people do not talk about. Oh my gosh, the admin side. And guys, we're not even talking like marketing, right? Like forget that. That's like not even like, I don't even consider that part of admin. Like, again, even talking about the taxes, like writing all of that stuff down so that you can write it off for your taxes. But like, if you don't, I mean, knock on wood, we hope Uncle Sam doesn't come, but you got to have that stuff ready to go if they do come, because like you did spend X amount on that. And like the beauty of online, I mean, like it's probably in your email somewhere, beautiful. Like we love that. But if something was on paper, like, do you have it, put away somewhere? You don't want your accountant to also kill you, when tax time does come around, to like have all that stuff ready so that they're like not knocking at your door every 5 seconds. Like, where is this and where is that? That's just one side of admin. Another side is like for myself as a healthcare worker, like a lot of it is documentation too. That's a side my patients don't see. So when I tell, and my friends and everything. So when I tell a friend, like, yeah, like, patient slot wise, like I see about like 20 to 25 patient slots, and they're like, you're working 20 hours a week. And they give me like that look. And I'm like, no. It's not, those are my patients that I see. I was like, the rest of the time, whether it's that extra 10 to 15. So yes, is it less than full time? Now it is. Now it is from when I had my full-time job, but at the beginning it wasn't. But now I just have that good flow of I take Fridays to get everything done, and then everything can wait after that, which a big thing for me that I did want to talk about today was boundaries, which led me into that too. It's like, it's hard for me to end my day and say, okay, I can leave that. I can leave that until tomorrow. Everybody will be fine. That's not easy either. And I could easily tell you at the beginning, you want to answer every email right away too. Like, it's not even like oh, it's Saturday at midnight. And like, this person did email me, like you like want to, because you're like, oh my gosh, somebody reached out. Somebody wants to be my client. Somebody wants to, or it's a business, thing too, of like somebody just trying to connect, like whatever it is you want to, but oh my gosh, you gotta like, yeah, you have to you have to live your life too. And I think like that's like my biggest takeaway when it comes to boundaries. Like the weekends, I actually try to take my email off. I do have a relationship with my patients where I tell them, guys, like I have my business line where you definitely can text it, but I am a physical therapist at the end of the day. If it's an emergency, you probably need to call 911. Like it's probably not me that you need, to be honest. Like, so I always make that very, very known, but you set the boundary, and I definitely had patients like text me at like 10 p.m., whatever time it was. And were there times where I had answered 1000%, but I've definitely learned to now answer the next day and to like have somebody understands that like you can't be available all the time. You said perfectly before, Hunter, it's like you want to show up as your best self, but like I hands down was not my best self the past 2 years. Like I can easily say that. But it took all of these things, all of these learning curves to say like, I even had somebody just, not answer me for 2 days. And that was more than fine because it was over the weekend. It was over the weekend a patient had reached out. And those are reminders to me that it's like, well, that person's setting a boundary. Like, why can't I also do that too? So I think that is also very important as a business owner. And I'm sure you've been literally nodding this whole time and you're like, oh God, I gotta go over like a million different scenarios of that.
Right. Well, the boundaries are huge. And I think what's super important too is remembering, and this is something that I had to learn, like you can set the boundary, but the moment that you cross your own boundary that you set, that client, patient, customer is no longer going to respect that boundary because you just taught them, hey, this boundary isn't actually real. And you're so right. Like, oh my gosh, the number of emails that I receive. And it's like, Hunter, why are you checking your email anyways? It's like, I don't know how to not. It's brutal.
But again, it's your livelihood. Do you know what I mean? Like, why, like, how can you not check your email? Like, that's the thing. It's like, but this is where you do hit that relationship with your phone. You hit it, just again, emails, phone calls, the works, whatever it is. And it's like, for me, I had to break the barrier by hiring my office manager, right? She's a virtual office manager. And like, I had to break that barrier of doing that, which it's beautiful. But even that, a control factor. That's a huge part of owning a business where you're just like, wait. Did they like answer that email right? Did they answer? And I am obsessed with my office manager. Stacey, if you're listening, obsessed with you. You already know this, but like I'm obsessed with her, but her and I are also friends. And we have talked about how like, I do have to let go of certain things too. Like I have to let go and just like, let her do her thing, right? And let her like handle talking and emailing my patients and doing all this stuff. And that even took a while, but I said to myself a very long time ago, well, what was the reason that you hired her then? Like it was to take time off of you. So that's another thing too. Even going into the money factor, some people are like, oh my gosh, I would never hire somebody if I worked for myself, because like I can just handle that. Like, what's the big deal? For me, it was my mental health, just like how you just said, like, I'm always checking my email. I'm always doing this. Like, if somebody could at least take the load, like even if it's 25% of that load off of you so that you don't have to worry as much, like for me, that's the best investment that I could lead into for sure.
Well, I love that you bring up this control piece as well, because I think that that's something, again, like getting into entrepreneurship, a lot of us, it was like you said, oh my gosh, earlier in the conversation, like we get in to serve people, right? Like we're here, we're doing this thing. We've got the one thing that we're really good at. Then we realize, oh wait, like there's this whole admin thing that I also have to do. And we're growing this baby that is our business. And then it's like, wait a second, to have my life back, I have to essentially get a babysitter for the baby. And I don't know if I trust the babysitter.
Right. I know. And you use the perfect analogy before of the baby bird. It's like nothing is going to happen if you're sitting on the bird. Right. So it's like, even for me, I always say this even to patients, like, what is going to spin the wheel? Like, what is going to get that engine going? What is going to like keep you moving? And like, for me, when I was truly on my own, like I did not have a biller, I did not have my office manager, nothing. I said, okay, I just worked 12 hours, but I only had 4 patients today. So what's happening? Like, what is, and I see 1 patient an hour, and I was like, wait. How did that happen? Like, how did that happen? Granted, again, guys, like that was really at the beginning, but the beginning is when you're like, what doctors should I reach out to? Is my website good enough? Should I batch content for social media? Like, you're so warped in it. And like, I had a point where I looked at my past 3 days and I went, I just worked 12 to 13 hours all those days. How am I going to make that change? What do I need to do? I started saving up so that I was ready to hire somebody. I said, wow, as much as you like want to also do it on your own, it's so beautiful to accept help. It's like so beautiful to accept help, to invest in it, to learn from each other. Even too, there were certain things that my office manager, like how she words things, and she's so experienced with talking to patients and people, that I was just like, you're awesome. Like you're just so awesome. And like, I'm learning from you now too. So I think that's another big thing that is hard sometimes when it's your own, but taking in other ideas from somebody. And you have to have a good, beautiful relationship in order to do that, I think. But do not think that you're the shit just because you have your own business. Like, don't do that. I have definitely seen people crash and burn. Unfortunately, I would never wish that on anybody. But when you have that mindset sometimes, and your business is not where you want it to be yet, that is not a good mindset to be in. You have to be willing to like be ready for the next thing. Even in points of stability, this is kind of a little bit of a negative Nancy moment that comes up with me sometimes, but it's like are things too good? Like, why, why are things too good? And I'm always waiting for like something to happen, which isn't the best mindset to have, but it has made me learn how to roll through the punches a little bit more, like got a few insurance statements today that like some of my patients' claims were denied. And I remember first getting those statements being like, what did I do wrong? Oh my gosh, like, is this patient going to be mad? Is it, but it's part of life and part of this business. So when I did open that envelope, I was like, all right, time to call my biller. Great. It's just one of those things that you then have to roll with it. So the first time something bad happens in your business, it is going to feel like the end of the world. It's going to feel like you are crushing that baby bird. It is literally, that's what it's going to feel like. And then you have to say, well, I can't crush it anymore. I have to let it breathe, and I have to like let it fly and do its thing. So you need to like let that go. That's like a huge part, I think, of what I've learned in just the transition period.
Oh, I absolutely love it, Alyssa. You are sharing so many good nuggets. I have one more big question for you. So you've been doing this for about 1.5 years. You've gotten you've experienced a lot of growth over this time. So now that you've been doing it for a little while, what is one thing that you would change about the entrepreneurial space as a whole?
Doing more things like this. To be honest, that's literally just the first thing that just came to my mind, right? Guys, like, even all the other things that I said before, like, make sure you save money, make sure you do this. Those are things. Don't get me wrong. Those are like facts. Like, you should be doing those things. And I do think that's important to talk about too, but make sure you have a mentor is something that I would like want to change. I do think that in this generation, I'm a millennial, in this generation, at least my generation, yeah, in my generation, our generation with Hunter, I feel that we, along with the younger, anybody that's younger than us, we have such a mindset because of things that happened with COVID of like, I'm going to start my own thing and like, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to do that. Guys, we can. I am so positive when it comes to that. Don't get me wrong. Like, if there's something you want to do, you can, but have your people. Like, have a crew of people to chat with. Don't be afraid to reach out to that person that looks like they're thriving in their business. Don't be afraid to like just connect with people. Don't be afraid to talk to the boomers. I talk to my parents all the time about my business. Like, that's one thing that I definitely will say, like, I've seen kind of lately where it's like, I've even tried to connect with the doctor who is a millennial, and they were very just like, oh, like we can't, like we can't do that. And it's like, okay, what, it's like, what? So I think sometimes our heads can get big again of like some of the main things, the money, the works, but you have to remember that like, we're all human. We're all human. COVID taught me that. That's for damn sure. Right. It's like, and with that transition too. And I think, to be honest, like, let's say I started my business without COVID happening, maybe I would have had that like bad bitch mindset, of like not accepting help from people and like not, going into it like so cocky and so, just like ready to conquer everything. But I think when you humble yourself a bit, you'll realize that a lot of us are the same, and like kind of taking things day by day. And I think like that for me, that mindset is what I would want to change of people, and just like reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. The amount of people, the amount of like younger PT students that get nervous to DM me, and I'm like, well, guys, why? I'm going to answer, I might be slow, but I'll answer and like, I will help you. And I'm happy to do that. And I think like, shoot your shot. That's my main thing. Just shoot your shot. That's the biggest thing I could say.
Yes, well, absolutely. And I think that idea of community, I love that you bring up that
Yes.
we're all just human. I think that's something, especially when you're starting out and you see people who are a couple years ahead of you and it's like, well, I want to ask them, but why would they waste their time on me? I'll tell you right now, a vast majority of people, if you reach out, will give you the time of day. Like,
Yes.
maybe don't try to sell them. They probably won't if you
Yes.
try to sell them right away. But if you're asking for help, and you phrase it in a way that really is like, hey, I seriously am just looking for help. If they have the time, they will try to help you. And that's something that I've learned along the way. And I was scared in the beginning too, where I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I can reach out to this person. What are they going to think of me? Also, what does that say about me? And it's like, bitch, it says that you want to learn. That's what it says.
That's exactly, first of all, how you even just said that. That's like what I say to myself, like, bitch, shut up. Like, just like do what you need to do today. Like, that's it.
Right.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing. It's like, I think what that says about you though is kind of full circle. Like, you're human. You're going to have doubts about like reaching out to somebody. You're going to have those feelings. And then you're going to have the days where you're going to be like, I'm reaching out today. And it's going to be great when you like have that in you. I definitely come off as this like confident, and I will say I am confident in what I do. I don't think you can have a business if you're like not confident, but I have my days, just like anybody else, where I'm like, oh, where's my favorite trash TV show? Because like, that's what I need to do right now. Like that's like all I need to do right now. So I love what you said about that, about like, just community, just community in general.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Well, Alyssa, seriously, again, thank you so much. I want to give you an opportunity to share how people can get in contact with you or how they can reach out or where they can find you. But again, thank you.
Of course. No, thank you so much for having me on. I mean, when we chatted first about this and just about talking about like the stuff that people don't, guys, when I list out everywhere you can find me, like, you'll kind of see that that's what my podcast and my blog are about too. It's just like being uncomfortable with, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable is what I meant to say. It's like, I think that's so important because a lot of people do want to talk about all these things, but we just don't. So pretty much you guys can find me on Instagram. I'm on there as alyssa.hariprashad.dpt. My last name is so long, but I'm very happy to spell that out for anybody. And then My email is info@alyssadpt.com. And then my website is also www.alyssadpt.com as well. So if anybody's interested even about like learning about what I do, I'm such an open book. Like, please feel free to reach out, even if it's on my website, which is like technically patient-based. Like, I've definitely had people reach out about questions and things. So please feel free to do so.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure that I add all those links to the notes. Anyone who is wanting to access this, I know some of you are probably driving and listening, so don't text and drive, guys.
Yes,
I'll get this. I'll
please
put this
don't.
in the notes. You can find this later. Alyssa, again, thank you so much. This has been such a blast.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on.